Hello, my mindful meal preppers. It is still the same day for me. It is a new day for you, and I hope that today was a good one. This afternoon, we are going to be making one of my favorite soups. This is a Persian celery soup to help us get rid of the celery that we have left over from last week. I hope that yours lasts and stored just as well as mine did. It's still fresh and crispy. I'm really excited about that. But we've got a lot to talk about to build off of from last video with regards to credit and credit management. I know last video we talked about establishing credit and ways to go about doing that if you've never done it before. Today, or this afternoon, we're going to be building off of that and taking it almost from the bank's perspective of, okay, when someone is coming and requesting a loan or requesting credit from the bank, what do they care about? What do they look at? And building off of that, how can we make sure that we look reputable and look good so that lenders are more likely to lend to us? So, without further ado, let's tie back our hair if we have to. We'll put on an apron if we've got one, and let's get cooking good looking. We've got a lot to talk about today at Life's Table. We're going to start first with our mushrooms. I was able to buy mine on sale. Again, just a reminder, I'm still cooking for double the people today, the same way that I was. Well, again, it's still today for me. But I'm still cooking for double the people. So I'm going to be doing a lot more cutting and chopping and washing and cleaning than hopefully you are. Hopefully this will come together relatively quickly and easily for you. But we will start with our mushrooms and a colander. If you were at the grocery store and you saw that mushrooms, whole mushrooms versus sliced mushrooms cost the same, which I initially did, you're more than welcome to buy pre-sliced mushrooms. There's no harm, no foul in that. But again, because I'm cooking for double the people, the whole mushrooms at the larger sizes were cheaper than the smaller mushrooms. So, but we'll go ahead and give this a rinse off. The way that this video is going to work today is I'll probably do my credit discussion with you early on, like now, while we talk and chop. And that way, when we let this simmer, I'll let you maybe carry on with the rest of your day and enjoy it for a little bit. I'm also going to go ahead and break into my lentils for now. And I'm going to, we'll put them in a bowl. Lentils are optional. The recipes that I've followed in the past in researching this do not call for them, but it's an extra kick of protein, and I think it kind of blends really well with the rest of these flavors. Again, since I'm serving 8, I need 2 cups of lentils, 10 servings per container, so I'll have a little bit left over. Exciting. Maybe we will do a future lentil video towards the end of this month, maybe next week. Very exciting. Okay. Get 2 cups of, or actually for you, since you're only serving 4, if you're only serving 4, we only need 1 cup of lentils. If you're serving 8 like me, we'll do 2. A little bit more. Perfect. I'll put these away. Pour them into here. and I'm going to give them a soak. And when they're basically clean, lentils are a little bit like rice. You want to give them a rinse beforehand. Same thing with your beans. If you cook with dried beans instead of canned, you definitely want to give them a little stir, soak, rinse before you start cooking with them. All right. Cool. So let's bring out a cutting board. And we will get started with chopping up the mushrooms. And I'll also bring out a soup pot, just because we're going to need it in a little bit. But first, mushrooms with the chops. I like to remove the bottom of the mushroom, and we're still going to use it, but it makes cutting this section a lot easier. We're gonna look for one cut down the middle, and then 3 to 4 cuts. I got 3 to 4 cuts down the side. So they're going to shrink significantly, but you're looking right now at pieces about the size of like my thumb. Okay. And again, let's get started with credit and credit management again. The way that this works, all right, again, when credit is trust, the bank isn't just going to trust anyone blindly. Banking institutions would go out of business almost immediately if they did. Because not everyone, unfortunately, not everyone is trustworthy. Not everyone is good with their finances, and I think that that's not even that person's fault. I think that, I don't know about you all, I don't know. Actually, get in the comments if you were lucky enough to receive some sort of financial education before perhaps college. If you're studying it in college, that's wonderful, that's great, but that doesn't count. I want to know who in high school learned about basic finances, personal finance. We don't necessarily set ourselves up and our people up for success when it comes to credit and credit worthiness. And I think that that's a really, it's a shortfall in our society. I think that there's a lot that we could be doing better in terms of taking care of our people and setting them up for success, certainly with personal finances. But at the end of the day, again, can't really control the things like that, which is why I'm trying to control it by teaching you all here. But some people, because of this lack of education or other reasons, are not necessarily trustworthy with money. They cannot necessarily be trusted with large sums, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in order to then protect the money of other customers who use those banks or financial institutions with their finances, right? Because if I go to the bank and I take out a loan, I'm not really, I'm borrowing from the bank, but what I'm actually doing is borrowing from other people's deposits into the bank. So the bank is responsible and they are liable for the money that gets lost in that regard, but ultimately it's not the bank's money that's really getting used and getting misused. It's other people at the banks, other customers who use the bank. It's their money that's getting withdrawn and transferred and saved and invested and so on and so forth. And in order to protect both themselves and the money of their customers, banks are going to look into the people who want to borrow from them. And once upon a time, that was not done in the most correct or ethical of ways. I know nowadays we've got credit checks and credit pulls, and we're going to talk about those because that's what we deal with now. But those didn't always exist. That wasn't always a thing. And before credit checks were a thing, what this looked like was you would walk into a bank and the bank teller would look at you, and based off of what they saw, your gender, your race, your clothing that you were wearing, your perceived sexual orientation, your perceived religion, your name it, all right? Based off of just personal appearance, that was how they used to determine whether or not you were creditworthy. And they were more than happy to say things like, ooh, sorry, I can't lend to you. You look way too young to be trustworthy. Ooh, sorry, I don't like the shoes that you're wearing. They don't look expensive enough, so I don't know that I could write this loan to you or approve you of this loan. And it was based off of shady practices and perceptions and negative judgments. That was how banks used to determine creditworthiness. I don't want to say that credit checks are like the solution beyond all solutions and this is the best way and blah blah blah, but certainly I'll take credit checks today over what they used to be, because odds are someone like me wouldn't have gotten a loan just based off the fact that I'm a woman. So let's talk about what they look like now. I'm going to heat up here. I'm gonna begin heating up my pot, medium low. Cool. We'll check on the lentils. Ooh, lentils are thirsty. Okay, lentils are looking good. I'm now going to start peeling my potato, and of course, as we know, those peels go into the veggie scrap bag, which we still have, and I'm still so excited to use. Oh. It's getting so full. I don't know about for you all, but we still have 2 weeks, and I'm so excited for that. Give your sweet potato a rinse. Oh, trick about sweet potatoes for when you're buying in the grocery store next time. If you've noticed potatoes, and sweet potatoes especially, there's like the long and lean kind, and then there's more of the short, squat kind. The short, squat ones tend to have fewer of the internal stringy bits, if you will. So I go for wider, girthier potatoes than like the long, lean variety that we frequently see. Give this a wash. And we take our veggie peeler. And we begin peeling. Just so you all know, sweet potato, also very, very optional for this dish. Most recipes will also not call for sweet potato. But I'm going to test for light and frost. Rinse the hands. Oh, we're getting real close. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We want half a cup. Well, I guess for you, if you're only doing half of this, I keep flipping back and forth. You probably only need a 1/4 cup of olive oil. You probably only need 8 ounces of mushrooms. I forgot that having you all cut these in half. All right. It actually calls for olive oil if you have a half a cup of olive oil, but I finished my olive oil in the last video, which I assume means that you also finished your olive oil around that time. So I'm gonna do perfect. About half a cup of olive oil's worth of butter. You will probably only need a quarter cup. And this is going to go in with the mushrooms. Just a little stir around. Mushrooms are going to go in. And we let them saute. Wow, if I could not throw them everywhere, that would be great. Still got thrown everywhere, but that's okay. Put this back in the fridge. The butter back in the fridge. 20. She's got great manners. She always asks permission before she just gets in. All right. This is going to release quite a bit of moisture, which is good. It adds to the flavor of the soup. And while this begins to saute, we now chop our sweet potato. I'll take the head and the tail off. Okay, those are also going to go in the veggie scrap bag that I put away, but that's okay. Also going in the veggie scrap bag. We're going to cut rounds about, we'll say like 1 to 2 centimeters. 2-3 cuts. You're looking for diced. You're looking for around diced sized pieces. Like almost like little, if you're like looking at like little cubes of cheese, perhaps a little smaller, right? And I'm just gonna toss them in with the mushrooms so that they can begin heating and softening. If I drop one more vegetable, I think I'll have more on the floor than I will in the pot. But anyway, let's go back to credit while we chop and quarter our vegetables. Nowadays, and thank goodness for this, there is a much more credible way of assessing whether or not you're trustworthy, all right? And let's put ourselves in the shoes of the bank. A relative stranger comes in, one of your customers, but you don't necessarily know them from Adam. You know, you're not really keeping super close tabs on them. That's for the apps to do. They come in and they say, hey, I'm going to open up a credit card. I need to put a down payment on a home and get pre-approved and pre-qualified. I would like to buy a vehicle. Whatever it is, pretty please, can I borrow some money? If you were that banker, ask yourself, what are some things that you would care about? Would you care that if you pulled up their checking account or their savings account, they had a decent bit of money saved up? Would you care if they had history with you? Would you care that if they had borrowed money from you in the past, that they had been good about honoring those payments? Would you care if they didn't, if they hadn't always been good? Would you care if they had a lot of other loans out with you already and they're asking for more money when they've already asked you for more money 3-4 times now, and you've given money to them 3 or 4 times now? Generally speaking, when our banks look at our credit worthiness, aka our trustworthiness, they look at the following pieces of information, right? The biggest thing that they care about is when you came to them and said, pretty please, can I borrow some money? I promise I'll pay it back. Okay, camera died, so not really sure how much got captured. The biggest thing that banks care about when you go to them and you say, pretty please, can I borrow this money? The biggest thing that they look for is, when you borrowed from them in the past, were you good at paying them back when you promised? So if I walked into the bank and I said, pretty please, can I borrow $12,000 to buy this vehicle that I want to buy? And the bank said, sure, you pay us back every month in, $300 increments, and we established the APY and everything like that. Was I good at paying them $300 every month like I agreed to do? If the answer is yes, and I have honored that payment history, I have a good solid payment history of honoring those promises to pay back when I say I will, that accounts for more than 30% of what they're looking at. Is truly just, when you pinky promise you're good for it, are you actually month over month good for it? Let's go ahead and give this a stir now that all my sweet potatoes are in. And we will then move on to our celery, our onion, and our garlic. Yeah. Okay. For my celery, I still have, I think, 6 stalks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to use all but one. I'm going to save one for the meal that I'm making later, just because it adds this delicious flavor to it. So I'm using 5 stalks. I want to say recipes call for as much as a whole bunch, which would be like 8 to even 14 stalks, depending on if you're going all the way down to the small guys. Okay. Because I'm adding in a bunch of extras like lentils and like sweet potato, I'm okay with using a little bit less celery. But let's give this a rinse. All right. So we cut off the heads. I'll cut off the tails. Veggie scrap bag. So 30%, more than 30% of what banks care about and what banks look for when deeming you trustworthy or creditworthy is, have you been good in the past about paying back? The next biggest thing that they care about is what we call utilization. For our celery, we're going to do chunks about the size of what the mushrooms became. So we're looking at like maybe half an inch chunks. And I'm able to go through all of them quick and easy, which is very nice. All right. The next biggest thing is utilization. All right, and what I mean by that, and this is specifically for credit and credit cards, if you come in and you say, pretty please, can I open up a credit card, can I borrow some money? And bank says, yes, we will approve you for $5,000 or 10 or whatever it is. All right. If you then go and spend the entire, we'll go with $5,000. If you go and spend the entire $5,000 that they have lent you, that is a red flag. Video died again. I don't know what to do about it, but that's okay. When you use your credit account almost like a checking account, which, by the way, this is for reference, this is about the size of the celery pieces that we want. We go ahead and we just add that in. for our onion, chopping off the head and the tail, I want to save, we'll go with 1/4 of this as well for the next, even half. I think I'm gonna save half. We're gonna do half and half split. Yeah. So I'm gonna use half of my onion now and half my onion for the next dish, but you can use as much of it as you'd like. So that's not the intended purpose of the account, at least in the minds of the bank, in the eyes of the bank. You have a checking account to use as your everyday shopper. You have a savings account to dip into in case of an emergency or for the goals that you happen to have. Onion pieces are looking about the same size as the sweet potato, as the mushroom, as the celery. I'll go ahead and cut like a little piece off just for you to see, but I'm looking for like some pretty hearty chunks of onion. Hearty chunk. Okay. Boop. That's not the intended purpose of the account, right? Essentially, the bank, in the eyes of the bank, you've got money. You're just borrowing a little more to meet your needs for the month. Okay? If I lend you $5,000 to spend on your life throughout the month, and you are using that full $5,000, that makes me question some of the other financial decisions you're making, because this isn't meant to be your everyday spender. And many people do use it accordingly. Many people do use it like that. And so long as you keep your utilization relatively low, right? I'm not necessarily going to spend, if my credit limit is $20,000, I'm not necessarily going to spend $20,000 in a month, right? So it's pretty easy to use it as my everyday shopper, so long as I stay within the limit and I stay low within the limit. And what I mean by that is eyebrows start getting raised, people start getting concerned when your credit limit, when your credit utilization begins to exceed about 30% of what your limit is. So in the case of, for quick and simple math, if I get a $10,000 credit limit and I spend more than $3,000, my bank gets concerned. All right? They've approved me for 10, but they don't want me spending 10. They want me spending my own money and kind of only using this if I need to. Okay? Give this a stir. Wow, this is so delicious, so good. The mushrooms are releasing their flavor. It's nice and hearty and delicious looking. When I make this, normally there's a lot more celery in it. I'm not used to it not looking predominantly green, but we're going to add some more green seasonings to it, so it'll be all right. But going back to credit utilization, right? Do not, if you get approved for $10,000, do not spend more than $3,000 on the credit card every month. Banks get concerned about your ability to pay back $10,000 every month, which if you can, hey, good for you, congratulations. But most of us couldn't afford to pay back a $10,000 credit bill in a month anyway. But also, again, the bank is not assuming that this is your primary spender. The bank is assuming that this is the card you reach for to get those extra few purchases that you might want throughout the month that you can easily afford to pay back. Okay? Utilization is the next largest thing that they look at, is in terms of the credit that you already have, are you using that responsibly and properly? Okay? The third thing that they look at is the age of credit. Okay? Have you been doing this for a little while? Again, if credit is trust, having a lengthy history, a long relationship with your bank, with your lender, that's going to then help you to be more trustworthy, right? If you not only have said, I promise I got you for the past year, but perhaps for the past 5 years or the past 10 years, that looks good. That you've honored your word, that you've honored your promises for that long. So credit age is also important. And you can't help that perhaps this is the first account that you're opening up. Everyone has to start somewhere with credit. But know that the age, and specifically the age of your oldest open account, okay? And that matters. That matters significantly, okay? If you, as part of your oldest ever account, took out student loans, okay? Let's say you took out student loans, you've been working on paying them off, you've been working on paying them down, you're doing a great job with it, and you finally pay it off, you settle it, and it's good, and the account closes. Congratulations, first and foremost. That's huge, okay? Get yourself out of debt. That's wonderful. But what that means is if that account is no longer open, you're no longer really doing anything with it, right? It's totally in the past, and therefore it's not something that we really count or give credit to, pun intended, okay? What credit card companies and what lenders care about is, what are you doing right now with the money you owe to other people right now, okay? The money you used to owe to people, the money that you have already paid back, they don't really, like, they care about it because it's good and they know it's good and they want to celebrate that with you, but it doesn't help your credit reputation because past you and present you are not necessarily the same person, right? Now, they will, and we're going to talk about credit reports here in a second. I'm like trying to discuss the credit report without actively just like talking about it because I want to finish I want to finish what they look at first and then get into the credit report. But credit age matters. How old is the oldest still open account? All right. We'll move on to the garlic because we're just about ready to add in the water and let this really boil and get good. We crush. I'm gonna do 4 cloves of garlic. You only need to do like 2 since I'm assuming you're making about half the soup that I'm making. Cooking for 8 today. Oops. That's still fine, give it a rinse. Alright. So, credit age and the age of your oldest open account is another one that matters. Because if you've been doing this for a while, then that means you've been trustworthy for a while. Okay? The next thing that they look at is the different types of credit accounts that you already have open. Do you have a mortgage, a car loan, 2 credit cards, some student loans, or do you for some reason just have like 6 credit cards open? Okay. The more diverse the accounts, plural, the better it looks, right? If you were to go in and basically just saw that somebody borrowed the same types of I guess brought in the same types of needs, if it's all credit cards, for example, that kind of shows that perhaps you're not necessarily as creditworthy as it would be if you have different money going to different places, having different tasks and different purposes, which we talked about, I think, 2 weeks ago now? It's crazy. It's going by so quickly. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out really quick. I'm gonna give the garlic a quick chop. If you've got your garlic pressed, you're welcome to use it. Yeah, I'll just use it. All right. So, crush that in. Ooh, yum. There's nothing quite so humbling as having to use both hands to crush garlic. Credit age, types of credit accounts or debt accounts. Oops. Get off, please. Thank you. Ooh, these lentils are looking ready to go. Awesome. And this soup is also looking ready to go, which is very exciting. All right. We go ahead and measure out, where's this? You only need like 2 to 3 cups of water for your soup. I'm gonna do 4, and I'm going to put 1 bouillon cube for every cup. So 4 bouillon cubes for me, since we've got it. Might as well. 1. The last thing, too, that they look at when assessing your credit worthiness is the number of recent inquiries that there have been. And what I mean by that is when you go, pause for filling up my water. All right, 4 cups of water with our 4 bouillon cubes are going in. Awesome. Wow, this looks so good. Just gonna give that a little swish, just a little extra. Perfect. Okay. Also going in here will be my lentils, which have been soaking. I'm going to dump them in with the water that's still in the bowl, just to give them that extra little kick of moisture so that they don't just drink up all of the soup broth. Okay. And we're gonna let this simmer. Oh, I need to add in some salt, some pepper, and some crushed red pepper as well, of course. We gotta season our broth. Food tastes like what you cook it in, so make it flavorful. Alright. Because the chicken is already like fairly salty, the chicken bouillon, I'm not gonna add too much. Let me get some. We're gonna go with like a teaspoon of salt. Let's do 2. I'll do 2. You only need to do 1, I think. Nice. All right. We're gonna do like half a teaspoon of black pepper. I'll probably do a little bit more just because I like pepper and the peppery taste. That much. And some crushed red pepper as well. Again, give it a little heat. I'll leave that up to you how spicy you want it, but I want a little heat to it. We'll say like about the amount of maybe half a teaspoon. Give this a stir. Oops. All right, and we'll finish off with recent inquiries. And then I'm gonna let you enjoy the smells of your kitchen. What you're gonna do is bring this up to a boil so that it starts actively cooking. And then we cover once it reaches the boil, and we bring it back down to a simmer. And we're gonna let it simmer for about 40 minutes or so. Number of inquiries. It's the last thing that people look at and care about, lenders look at and care about when it comes to credit. If I have been running around town asking people, can I please borrow money? Okay, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look reputable, because A, why are you running around town asking people for money? But B, why did those people say no? Or did those people say yes, but you still need more money? Either way, that doesn't look great. It doesn't look good. All right. So, credit lenders also care about not just the age of the oldest account that you have, but also the age of the most recent account, the newest account that you have, and the number of inquiries that have been happening in relation to those things. Okay? So, payment history. When you said, I pinky promise I'll pay you back, were you good for it? Far and away, the most important thing that they look for. Utilization. When you asked, can I borrow $10,000, did you then spend $10,000, or were you seemingly responsible with that money and you kept it low and only for what you needed? All right? Credit history or credit age, the age of the oldest open account. The different types of credit. Is it 6 credit cards, or is it the mortgage, the student loans, the car loan, the credit card, and so on? And number of recent inquiries. All right, have you been running around town asking people for money, or is this the first time you're asking to borrow again in a little while? All right, those are the 5 things that they look at in terms of creditworthiness. Okay, we've just about reached a boil. I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on my pot. Like I said, setting that timer for 40 minutes. We're not quite done yet. Turning this back down to low so it can simmer for 40 minutes. We don't want an active boil this whole time. But let's take this 40 minutes to just enjoy. I hope. Go put on a TV show. I'm gonna go let my dogs out. You can journal about how your day's been, meditate, do a workout, whatever you would like to do with this time for you. That's for you to enjoy, and I hope that you do enjoy it. I'll be back in about 40 minutes, and we'll finish off with our credit talk and add the last little bit of seasonings and spices to make this meal absolutely delicious. We're gonna do a little quick taste test in between filming. I'm in the middle of like cleaning and prepping for the next one, but let's give this a try. Wow. That is so unbelievably good. I think this might be the best thing I've made on this channel so far. I can't believe that I'm able to get this kind of flavor on a budget. This is incredible, and I'm so excited for you to try it, and I hope that you enjoy it the way that I do. Wow. Thank you for taking care of you today. Bon appetit.